NVG stands for the 2.5 billion people globally who require vision correction. So with a mission to reach out to this population, a separate division was created. We identified various constraints why we are not able to reach out to the people whom we want to reach out. So primarily, three things came up: awareness, access, and affordability. Awareness is common. Most of us do not give much priority to eye health as compared to a very silly toothache or a headache. Eye health is the last priority when it comes to health. Um, Access, majority of the eye care professionals are in the urban centers. They are in the metros, they are in the district headquarters, they are at the taluka headquarters at the maximum. Whereas country like India, sizable population lives in rural areas. So accessing vision care was an issue. Affordability, most of the vision care services were very expensive. So huge number of population was not accessing eye care because it was not affordable to them. So we wanted to work on these three components, created this division, came out with a product range wherein between 100 rupee and 100, majority of the solution can be ordered. We also came out with very innovative programs. We created a very innovative team program where a based qualification was to be an optician and handheld to open up a small optical center in which and ensure that he had primary service population at those levels. We went on to hospitals, optical chains, and said, if we provide you mobile phones, can you take your services to the rural villages, to the steps? So while Reflect Units initiated and large-scale community engagement programs, awareness programs created, and 2.5 NG is going strong at that segment. As we go below the pyramid, if you can imagine a pyramid representing the vision care need with the large base on the bottom, large populations on the bottom, less educated, having lesser access to resources on the bottom, the 2.5 NVG is in the mid segment. As we go further below, we thought that charity approach is more appropriate than a business model at that bottom of the pyramid. So Essilor Vision Foundation was envisaged to ensure that we reach out to the bottom of the pyramid with large-scale eye care programs aimed at giving access to a pair of spectacles and a vision screen to the last man, the most marginalized in the society. Foundation as a concept was operational and functional in the US for a long period of time, and the global management let the country managers choose and decide if each release one foundation of its own. India stepped in quickly, and 2013 is when we initiated foundation. 2014 we started becoming operational. So far, we have screened about 10 lakh needy people across the country and given about 4 lakh pair of spectacles for various segments of the society, with school children in government schools being sizable numbers. So this in brief is what foundation does. We work very closely with state governments, large-scale international eye health organizations, educational institutions, organizations working in education to ensure that a quality eye care is available to the last person in the community. And the way we segment is, see, you cannot in a situation like India, you cannot distinguish between A, who deserves our service, B, who doesn't deserve. So what we do is we reach out to children in government school, by and large people who cannot afford a private education, sends his or her children to the government schools. We work in the most interior villages so that we primarily understand that the people who live there in these rural interior villages are the ones who need our services on priority. So this broadly is what we do. Interestingly, I mean, as I said, in these gloomy times, when the whole eye care infrastructure came to a standstill, people who could not afford to walk in or move out, we also shifted our focus a bit onto the COVID-related activities. Again, with a focus on what we do, we started interacting with state governments about that a safety goggles, safety spectacles were reached out to the frontline health workers. We reached out to the teachers to ensure that when they conduct interactions with the children, they give inputs on tips on eye care, and we are also ensuring that who would require a pair of spectacles, even at this point of time, gets an access with the foundation support. So this, in brief, we've been doing our programs and.
Thank you, Dharam, for helping us understand what is it that it's beyond Luxottica, as you mentioned does, and I think this is something close to my heart personally. If I can share a personal, story. My own grandfather lost his eyesight due to sheer negligence, and you're very right when you said that a lot of health, we don't give it the level of attention that it deserves. I don't take for granted. Thanks for sharing the mission at Essilor. If I can move to you, Meenakshi, I just wanted to ask you one question. I know that you work in the space of vision, and some of the variables that Dharam talked about, right, resonated with me, because this is some of the variables that also deal in the corporate world. A variable of access, the variable of affordability, the coverage. We talk about coverage, vast geography is, so on and so forth, right? So, can you help us in the audience, understand what is it that you have set out to achieve at United Efforts?
Yeah. We dream at United Efforts. What we do is we dream that 2 crore students, who are high school students across the country, are able to make informed decisions, just like their counterparts from the privileged community who have all the support of their parents, who have all the support of their teachers, the career counselors, just like their privileged counterparts. Our students from the underprivileged background or the economically weaker sections of the society can make informed decisions for their future and leverage their 10 years of education. Unlike, the privileged students, it's a given in our families that, these children will do their 11th and 12th, and they'll do their graduation, and if need be, even their post-graduation. However, the decision point for a child from an economically weaker section of the society becomes 10th grade. That becomes the decisive point. In 8th, what we see is these children are pretty ambitious. Like, they have that hope that education is going to get them across. Education is that one thing that's going to get them out of poverty. We see a lot of fire in their belly, a lot of passion. As they get closer to the boards, as they get into 9th, the seriousness of education takes up. We kind of see them making peace with poverty and don't know what is ahead of them. Why is it that they should put in those extra hours? So we dream and hope in the next years, the 2 crores of our country get this support. They see why they need leverage their education and shape into professionals.
Thanks, Meenakshi. Meenakshi, I will come back to you after I, ask Dharam about some of the variables that he touched upon. Like the challenge of access, the challenge of affordability, the challenge of covering, going to the remotest parts, which could even be in a city like Bangalore, some parts are not being, adequately served. But coming to you, Dharam, I have a question. The pandemic is a real danger, and many people are calling the future as a new normal, which will require us to have a hybrid approach to solving any problem, right? And you have set out that Essilor to solve a huge problem. So, how do you think your approach has changed post the pandemic? I hope we can say post the pandemic while we are still in the. I'm sure one day we will we can say past. We talk about it in the 2 past sense. So, I really want to, compared to the pre-pandemic phase and now and maybe the future, how do you think that would change? What are you thinking at Essilor? What are some of the things you feel has changed for good? What are some of the things that might go back to the pre-pandemic things? So, in summary, what I want to know from you is your approach to this whole program. How has that changed? Post the pandemic hit us.
Just a comment on the first statement you made about Bangalore also having this issue. See, we are running one same project bully for Essilor in Dodballapur, which is not even 50 kilometers away from the city headquarters. Right. So we have a program called Dodballapura, where we wanted to understand what it takes to completely cover one geographical unit, the Taluk of Dodballapur, and ensure that that geographical unit as poor vision free. So it was a 2-year project. About 395 villages had to be covered with about 4 lakh population. So we had a door-to-door intervention. We knock each door, do the primary first round of screening at the doorstep, and then ensure that whoever requires some kind of vision correction comes for the camp the very next day, and they are given a pair of spectacles, and if necessary, surgeries are done. So the very fact that in spite of being in such close proximity of the best of the eye hospitals in the world, so we still had, there were villages where they said they never remember I mean, a 70-year-old man saying that he never remembers a camp being conducted in his village ever in his life. So this is a requirement, this is a need that still exists. Coming back to how things have changed, very difficult to answer because the kind of work that we do is something that really requires door-to-door kind of an. There isn't any alternative for that, but still used about. So what we did, we used to have volunteers who would go from outside, from Chikballapur or Devanahalli or Bangalore, to these locations and implement these programs. So what we did, we waited. When for 3 months, 4 months, we were not able to decide on whether they should build a village and what's the mindset, whether they would be apprehensive. The quickest turnaround that we could do is we could catch the ASHA workers who live in those communities, train them, make them vision ambassadors, skill them with basic requirement of vision screening, and ensure that the program runs in spite of we not being able to get onto the communities from outside. So think of infrastructures available within the system and how you can activate to pursue your focus, pursue your interventions. It could be the same case even education. Second, though on a lighter note, I think unnecessary monitoring visits of too much of you and I on the outside world coming and wanting to see these programs, how things are happening. I don't think so it's necessary. You could remotely manage it as long as quality work happens on ground. So you use technology to ensure that the monitoring and evaluation of the program can be effectively done through various other means available today, video, audio, or otherwise. I think these are the few quick things which comes to my mind. Panish, I'm not sure whether I've answered your questions.
No, you did, and as you rightly said, probably we still have not understood the full implications of these changes. But I think a very pertinent point you made, which I picked up, was that use the resources closest to the community rather than exporting resources, so to speak, into the community. You talk about using the ASHA to do some services, and those are the people who are closest to the community. Very, very good insight that you brought forth, Dharam. Thank you for that, and I'm sure you will endeavor to figure out different ways of adapting to the new normal. So Meenakshi, the same question to you, slightly with a slight twist, if I may. Now, counseling again is thought of as a face-to-face activity, traditionally. These school kids. Now, schools being shut, and I don't know, for how many more months they'll remain shut. Have you thought of any other alternate ways, a hybrid approach maybe? Because everybody now talking about a hybrid approach, which includes the traditional approach and something new, right, to solve the same business problem. So, what are your thoughts on that? Have you been able to gather some insights around what this new hybrid approach could look like?
Sure. So, I must admit, way back in March 2020, the school shut. It was a big shock for us because, the minute you walk into schools, the kind of relief you would see on faces of our children, they would be so happy. They'll run to our teachers. It would be a sign of, relief. Okay, man has come. So, our careers, our futures are, it was a huge visual communication that used to bring a lot of relief to students the minute they used to walk into the schools. And once it happened, now, everything is cut. So the visual reinforcement, that assurance, all of that has gone out the window, right? So it was a big challenge. But my team was awesome. They were also relentless, just like the COVID, and they started reaching out to the parents over phone. Because what we knew was all our parents at least have a, if not a smartphone and all these fancy phones, they definitely have a touch phone, the keypad one, and they were able to communicate with us. And in initial days, our response was, the parents started telling us that, listen, what are you talking about career and future? We don't know what we're going to eat tomorrow. We don't have any food in our house. How do we go back to our villages? They were like totally, we were all totally flummoxed. We didn't know how to respond to this. We working our skills to ensure our children have a good future. And here you're talking about dal, chini and rice, how do we respond to that? But the way, my team worked and the way the entire system collaborated, be it Give India or Goonj, all of them came together, and the children gained a lot of respect for their teachers. That you are not just career counselors, you are true mentors for us. Whatever they could, each child they would personally talk till 11 in the night. Parents were anxious. The auto drivers are our parents, and there was no income to the auto drivers. So after all that initial, where we could help them with whatever means we could, we realized that, our children need continuous support. And what they used to deliver in the classroom over a 40-minute, interaction, they quickly started converting it into short videos. And WhatsApp came to our rescue. So our children started seeing these information, small nuggets. What is automobile industry? What is healthcare industry? And our children, that education, stoppage of education is the worst thing possible, right? That those minds are ticking. They're so active. So to stop feeding those minds is a sin. So my team was relentlessly pushing them with a lot of material. We got volunteers to start supporting our 10th graders because they got anxious. Is there school? Is there college? We did home visits. Our team went and did home visits, and to see those little houses where in that small house of 7 people are living, there's one tiny TV on which they're supposed to learn. It was a one-way communication. As a 10th grader, I have a million doubts, and how am I going to resolve all that? But total respect the way our block education officers, our HMs, our teachers, all of them, the way they responded and they want to support our children was beautiful. So the long story short is that we found ways of communicating over WhatsApp through short videos. We developed a workbook so that otherwise it's information in how do I know if I've understood what you've done. So we came out with lovely career books. In this 1 year, we could come out with career books on which our children now apply their mind and see if media industry makes more sense to them, or is it the healthcare industry that makes more sense to them. So these were some of the innovations that really helped us, continue our work over there.
Thank you.
But what's going to remain and what's going to, let go, we definitely, what the beautiful part, the best part of it is that, our children now understand technology. They understand that little phone, other than you be using, watching nice Kannada movies and, serials on YouTube, you can also use it as an effective tool to learn additionally. Our teachers are seeing that what additional content like a private school child is being pumped with is now possible even for our government school students. So I see that as a huge positive mindset change in the teachers and the students. Yes, there is this worry about it being mishandled and all of that, but, it's a tool at the end of the day, and we are no one to say no to them. But what we don't want to continue is this lack of, communication with our children. We all want to go back to that school. We all want to see our children thrive over there.
Correct. Thanks, Meenakshi. That was quite insightful. Dharam, one other, aspect, right, which I'm sure you have come across, and especially, when a corporate takes on a BHAG goal, the big, hairy, audacious goal, as a part of a project, is this whole dimension of scale versus impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you drive a balance between scale and impact, or to put it in a simpler term, between the qualitative aspects and the quantitative aspects, of a program. Now, I'm curious to get some insights from you, which might also be very useful to Meenakshi, because Meenakshi's, mission is about 2 years old, while I'm sure SLR has had a very steep learning curve over the many years that you've been, working on eye health. So, what are your thoughts on it, Dharam? How do you balance the two? How important are KPIs? When you set out to do something like this, how much of importance do you give to the attainment of KPIs while also taking care to ensure that the impact part or the qualitative aspects of the project are not lost out?
Okay. But very interesting, and I'm quite excited to share the mission of the company. I mean, we call ourselves as somebody who is mission led. So the mission is to ensure that we eradicate poor vision from the face of Earth by 2050. That is our mission. So Essilor is working towards eradicating poor vision in one generation. That is by 2050. So I can completely resonate with what you're asking, Ed. And for that, we wanted to understand what does it mean by implementing this small little project in Doddaballapur. And we completely understand how we really need to balance our ambition for scale at the same time ensuring that the nuances of the quality parameters, the KPIs, are completely met. There are few checks and balances that we have put in place, where drafting the project plan itself, we have put in a lot of systems in place wherein we will ensure that quick, immediate feedbacks are done. External stakeholders are engaged to keep us monitored, keep us communicated about where the project is heading to. So we have a frequent interaction with this external agency, which is keep giving us inputs on that, those monitoring those KPIs. The second big learning, what we realized that when you have such large aim, you cannot do it all alone. It's imperative on your part to engage as many stakeholders as possible. And one of the biggest learning is that there is no parallel, there's no alternative for the government infrastructure in whichever, be it education, be it in health. I think if we as privately think that we can parallelly do an impact and manage these programs, I think we would be foolish. So there is no alternative to government partnerships. So that is something which we quickly understood and started engaging governments in. To give a small example, there was a program called Kanti Velugu in Andhra Pradesh, where every household in the entire state, though it was politically motivated with the elections in mind, but every household received quality vision screening and free spectacles under this program, and we could align with their mission because being Essilor, we could supply those 45 lakh plus spectacles at a record time within 100 days. So this is how we managed to keep quality under check, at the same time ensure that we reach out to our scales. So these are the few learnings which I can quickly think and share it out here.
Thanks, Dharam. Dharam, if I can just press you a little further on this particular topic. Please. Any anecdotes you could share with us, which is an example of how you tweaked the parameters of the program, to ensure that you drive the right balance between quality and quantity? Anything that is top of mind that comes to you?
Yeah, it's a very tricky part. Very tricky. Though upfront we wouldn't want to. We were having blocks in this entire taluk, where come what may, we're not able to go pace which we wanted to go. So and at any given point of time, more than 50% also in the and that's a lot of time seeing that if we don't have this 50%, we will not be achieving our of making this block poor vision free. We're stuck at that. But then the way we changed is, we instead of the household, we change that KPI into, yes, we visit, we stick a notice on that household, ensure that at least minimum 2 households next to that household are informed about non-availability of people in this household, and then we continued. So we put those checks and balances in place so that tomorrow we don't feel bad, nor anybody can comment that you have not touched this part. So what was available, the small tweaking which is possible at that level, we could actually go on, and this helped in many more other villages where we face similar situations. And also from a from the government perspective or from an impact assessment agency perspective, this suited well with their analyses or with their expectations. So this is one thing which I could on ground I could tell you. Yeah.
No. This is a great example of you said it was a small tweak, but I think such small tweaks and small fine tunings make a huge impact. In the way quality gets delivered or does not get compromised. Thanks for that very, very nice example, Dharam. Meenakshi, if I were to ask you, again going back to the post-pandemic situation, that we are all in, how do you look at volunteering, for example, as a lever, to amplify your efforts, considering that you're not considering that you would have constraints around resources of all types. So have you given it a thought? Is this something that United Efforts is seriously looking into? Can you share some thoughts on that?
Yeah. So like I shared during our program, it's called the DRS model of career exposure and mindset development. This is the model we implement in our school. This is discover, reinforce, and support. So children discover the many opportunities. You reinforce it by taking on industry visits. So they have that exposure. They have that exposure beyond that little community that they live in, and they have an access to the different things out there. And support. Support is where the mindset. I'm the daughter of an auto driver. My life is kind of settled around that. I think I kind of make peace with that, and my dreams are also restricted by the socioeconomic the bubble that I am in, right? Given this situation, mindset development, yes, I can do it. I have 10 years of education with me. I'm well in my education. Let me go in the direction I hope to. That part, when our children interact with corporate volunteers, it does tremendous change to them. They have a lot of energy because, it's not, they are someone who walk the talk. And then when I studied arts, I've had night outs, I have studied so hard, I had a very bad used to teaching back. It becomes, very practical, and then read them. They then understand, this person who's going around in this lovely bike or car actually has also got to struggle. So our corporate leaders act as a very beautiful catalyst who make them understand that no one is handed over anything. Everyone has worked hard to reach where they are. Even my son has to work hard. Everyone has got to put in that hard work. Here our children think, I studied till 8 o'clock in the evening and I came for the exam. They're like, 8 o'clock is nothing, yeah. We studied till 12, we studied till 1, then it hits them. So volunteers, corporate volunteers are the key to give them a taste of real life. And it's a part of our program. But this pandemic showed the wonderful role our volunteers can play. Just a phone call from them. We did a program called VMS, which is Volunteer Motivate and Support, and over 130 corporate volunteers from different corporates, IQVIA, Bosch, CGI, Target, Cognizant, all these people, it's beautiful. We have a couple of our volunteers also on this call, the kind of passion and the kind of spirit they bring, salaries can't do that. So yes, we are realizing the huge potential that volunteers can bring, to our program, and we hope to fully leverage it in the months to come.
Which is the most inspiring anecdote or a story that is top of your mind when it comes to corporate volunteers? Anything that you would like to share with us?
My team members Shamla and Archana are on this call. They get calls right up till 11 o'clock from a corporate volunteer saying, I'm not able to reach my student. My team also has life. They have to take care. But they are super still responsible. They have a lot of corporate volunteers who it comes truly from their passion. I talk to this child every week. I'm concerned. Why isn't she lifting the phone? Is she unwell? So, when that kind of passion comes, my team also totally, comes into the play, and they totally support giving them, trying to reach, find out what happens. So this has happened like multiple times, not once or twice. And our volunteers have helped us to find that there is this child who's depressed, find out what's happening, where is the issue. So, it's like a bigger point. 3,000 students is what we are dealing with. A small team of 7 members is dealing with. So, these people act as our eyes and, plus that extra leverage with our students.
Thank you, Meenakshi. Meenakshi, tries to build on the corporate volunteering program to help us scale. As a corporate, how do you look at employee volunteering? Do you have a sustainable approach to trigger more employee volunteers at Essilor to also contribute to this program? How's one triggering employee volunteers?
Yeah, Panish, actually, to be very frank, this was a hard nut to crack internally for me as well. That too, with the kind of business we are in, which is a day-to-day. Every morning they are up and running every day. What is the collection? What is the closing? So not very easy to pull people on their own to be part of the volunteer program. So we've been making efforts for the last 6 years or so, and we kept doing whatever is possible. So one of the nicest things the company did was to give a 2-day holiday to be a volunteer for the foundation's activity. One in station within Bangalore or wherever they are, one outstation. So this is an additional 2-day holiday, which is given of Essilor. So they could be part of the foundation's activities. There are a few suggestions came from the employees that they may not be able to physically be present in these ways. So they would want to contribute. So we started doing spectacle donation vouchers to our employees, where they could provide 1 pair of spectacle to 100 pair of spectacle or 1,000, depending upon their, and we would ensure that at that contribution, we would identify, screen, and give a pair of spectacles on behalf of the volunteer or the employee for the needy. The second thing, what we did 2 years ago, not the last year, the previous year, was to have a volunteering fortnight where we ensured that transportation was provided, a well-planned, a day-long schedule was given to them, which also included an eye care program. And this was much appreciated. About 150 of them participated over that 5 days in the week. That triggered a lot of energy across the company, and people started talking, when is the next fortnight? When is the next fortnight? So having champions within the volunteering groups also helps us to ensure that participation. But it's a mix of both. Physical participation is one group, whereas another group would want to contribute and support financially. So we need to give these both opportunities to the employees.
Thank you. It is really hard to crack, and Krishna can relate to it. Very hard to watch, and it's good.
So is it 2.5 kgs, which I did. One question, I'm sure I've talked about it. In many of these retail outlets, which oils and lenses are sold, we have a program where people donate, say, 2 rupees or 100 rupees to give us spectacles for. See, this is like this. The idea is in the case in US, where they call it suspended. You order a coffee or a sandwich and say 1 suspended. Suspended means you pay for it, you can go pluck the chit, give it and cash it. So something like that.
Okay, very very interesting. Yes, these thoughts were there. Yes, again, being inside a company, a brand-led communications, brand activities are on the one side, and you need to wed the child component into that act, because when you get into retail, you need to go through the business. So the idea has been fluid, but as well on this, and see how best I could navigate through our friends.
So what I was thinking is that what I was thinking came to me about the US concept in cafes of suspended. They call it suspended.
True.
Suppose go to, let's say, very near my house, SR Gopal Rao, very familiar with these things. And then there's a small board with the QR code saying you can donate the specs to 50 rupees, 300 rupees. I just won't show the QR code, click it, and then 250 rupees or 500 rupees goes in. It doesn't have to go through the retailer. It comes directly to some account, and I know that Essilor is a reliable, well-reputed French company, and I know that will be used for a good cause. So I was
Sure.
that is what was running my mind. So I thought I
No,
just table
we will
it.
surely take this up again with little more vigor and energy, and see how we could replicate this one for the wall, one for the table concept.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly,
sure,
exactly.
sure. We would want to do it, and we will try to do it with this Gopal Ravitsa, because they've been very, very supportive. No, I mean, on a
And
serious
they're a
note.
very big chain in Bangalore, very
No,
well-known chain.
we work very closely with them. We work very, very closely with them, and being one of the first one who we open for any of those.
Oh,
And
really? Okay.
yeah, they are called the opticians of the Maharajas. I mean, I'm sure you're aware
Yeah,
of
yeah,
that.
yeah. No, we are regular customers.
Correct,
My,
correct,
my
correct.
wife swears by them. So I look
Okay,
forward
yeah.
to seeing that small
We will,
plaque with a QR which I show my mobile and then put in
we
some
will,
money.
Thank you.
Krishna, we did make a small attempt on this front, but then they were not very sure how they would monetize it, whether they would give it as a discount to the other I buy.
No,
Those
what
are
I meant to give to the retailer. You just have this QR code
separate
reader,
one.
that thing, and I
True.
click and I pay. Finished. It's over. Retailer has nothing to do with it. It comes to your account
Perfect.
straight. Khatam.
Perfect.
That's what
Perfect.
ran through my mind. So I asked.
We
Krishna,
will take this up.
thank you for that address, Sajid. No, Meenakshi, I think I just have one more thing that I need to know. Right, you, Meenakshi, as an individual, and you, Dharam, as an individual. This will be my last question to both of you. So if I were to come to you first, Meenakshi, what motivates you to work? And I request you to give the answer from the bottommost part of your heart. Right? I'm sure you will do that. Something that can really help me and the audience understand what really goes on in your head watching this.
So initially, it was that, there was one lucky issue changed my life. I had a happy story and earning my vacation and all of that. And he spoiled all of that to me. I've been running helter skelter the last 1.5 years, working on United Efforts idea to empower those students. But what really motivates me, how is it are we going to reach 2 crore? It's people. I've been super lucky, in the kind of team I have. The schools, the teachers, the HMs, the advisory panel I have. I think, what motivates me is that the word United Efforts, the reason we have United Efforts is in our name, is that one, Meenakshi can't do anyone's, it's impossible to do anything, right? But as a team, what started as an individual's dream is now the collective, of at least 10 to 15 people are committed to this dream. I think the only thing is care, and by whatever luck or hard work, we've been attracting the right kind of people to drive this farther and farther. So yes, truly it is people, our students, our HMs, our teachers, my team, you advisors, and the many people we'll start collaborating, including Dharam and all our viewers now.
Dharam, same question to you, but I would also like to ask you if you can share any personal story, being in this role, doing what you're doing at Essilor, which really moved you, which really you thought, oh, this is why I do it, and this is why I should do it.
Yeah. Tough to answer. I mean, you said from the bottom of the heart. What came to the top of my mind was, I mean, not from the bottom of the heart. What came to the top of my mind was, this pays me well and also makes my work feel meaningful. So this balance I get to feel here, and hence I'm happy and I continue to do that. So this, it's a balance. I think I would say is that in Coimbatore about 3 years ago, we were conducting a vision training program in a special school. And usually special schools were not part of our today. And it so happened that we wanted to do, and there was a gentleman who was experienced in an ISK program for the special school, and hence we did it in the school. There was a 14-year-old boy who all through his 14 years was dependent on mother for every activities, including moving around. And the boy with the least social skills was not talking to anybody, was clinging to his mother's hand all the time. Post-screening, after 2 weeks, when he gave the spectacles to a child, there was a miraculous change in him. And we were told for the first time in 14 years, he started walking on his own and started coming and seeing into people's eyes, each one, to indicate that it was possibly the first time he ever saw the world the way it should be seen. Nobody cared about his IQ because other is to the parents. Because it was a special child. but everybody forgot completely that there's a sense called I that needs and that can directly impact his. So at this point of time, I get goosebumps imagining that day, 14 years. If that was done when the child was 5, 4, 3, or whenever it was, the change would have been completely exponentially different than what he was. So these are the small incidents. Another child, 7 years old girl, Chilruga, very hyperactive, very, very bubbly, but she would always complain to the teacher that she cannot see properly. And she she was always stood first in the class, and all her complaint on vision was disregarded because she was fine. She was running around. She was studying well. Only when the screening realized that one of I had something called a lazy eye syndrome, wherein the other eye is good. One of these eye became completely lazy, and another 6 months to 1 year, she would have lost it forever. So we could immediately do some corrections, ensure that the child, the girl sees better. And she was so fine, so comfortable. She was so fine. She said, I can see well. Otherwise, I used to struggle. And we had similar incidents, similar cases, where even that one incident gives you enough boost to run for another 2 years, 3 years before you go on such dosage.
Thank you. Two very powerful, extremely powerful stories. Very, very fun. So we are at the top of the hour. I think, I can only say that talking to Meenakshi and you, Dharam, was hugely inspiring. And both of you have set out, one in your corporate capacity and one in your individual capacity, Meenakshi, to solve problems. Both are humongous problems. And I'm sure I definitely learned a lot from both of you. And I hope you both also can exchange some good ideas and practices, between what Essilor does and what United Efforts is planning to do. So thank you for your time today. And Krishna, to everybody else in the audience, thank you so much for joining this webinar. And, I think all of us walk back with a heavier heart, definitely, but also with a lot of hope that there are people like Meenakshi and who are giving their all, to solve these problems. Thank you so much and wish you all a great evening ahead.
Manish, one question to Dharam, and so Dharam, as soon as this call is over, I'm sure our program manager Praveen is going to ask me why you didn't ask Dharam to, support our schools and our students. So on his behalf, could I invite Essilor Foundation to support the schools that we are working in?
Dharam's video is frozen.
Yeah.
So maybe he has a technical glitch like the one I had in the beginning of the call. Sorry for that. Should we wait for Dharam to come back? Maybe, or he dropped out. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I think he's got a glitch. Yeah. Dharam's back. Mute Dharam.
Dharam is joining back. Yes. Oh, I think he left again.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm back. Yeah.
So then, I was asking, would it be possible for Essilor to support the government school students where we are working? A lot of them they are from the underprivileged background. It would be wonderful. They're in the heart, but yet, like I said, they live in their bubbles.
Anytime, actually, any child that requires a pair of spectacles, you can count on us. Of them among the 2 crores.
Awesome. All right. Wonderful.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for this opportunity because I also relived my short stint I had with
that's
Shikshana
really
Foundation
awesome.
and Azim
Really
Premji Foundation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. You were saying, Dharam, you were with Shikshana and
I was
Azim
with
Premji.
Shikshana Foundation and Azim Premji Foundation. So both the organization had amazing on-ground exposure to all that you've been trying to do. So it is really nice to get to know another organization and you who's been spearheading these programs for the children.
Thank you. So we'll stay in touch and collaborate, look to collaborate.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. So thanks everybody. A million thanks to you for your time. 60 minutes of your time was precious for us. So we'll stay connected. There's more to come in this series. You'll see more people doing a lot of inspiring work to keep us going, to keep us energetic. So watch out for this space. Thank you very much to all of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
Dharam.
evening.
Thank you once again for your time. And Meenakshi, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.